Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. I'm really happy you're here today. In this video, we're going to dive into a mysterious and emotional story, a story about a very wealthy family, an isolated mansion, and a strange inheritance that changes everything. This family lives far from the world, inside a palace surrounded by silence and secrets. People say its walls can hear, and remember every word spoken inside. And when the head of the family passes away, his final will reveals an unusual condition. Only one person can inherit the entire fortune. But to do so, they must stay inside the mansion for 1 full year without speaking a single lie. As time goes on, the house begins to reveal the hidden truths of past generations. Secrets appear on the walls as images and voices, forcing each character to face their own mistakes, regrets, and unspoken emotions. What starts as a fight over money slowly turns into a deep psychological journey, one that explores honesty, family bonds, and the price of truth. So make yourself comfortable, relax, and stay with me until the end. Because this story is not just about wealth and inheritance. It's about what happens when the truth can no longer be hidden. Chapter 1: The Silent Inheritance. The Aurelian family had always been surrounded by mystery. Their wealth was immense, old, and strangely untouched by time. No one outside the family truly knew how it began, only that it had grown quietly, generation after generation, protected by secrecy and distance. They lived in an enormous mansion far from the city, isolated behind iron gates and ancient trees. Locals believed the house itself was unusual. Some said its walls could hear. Others said they remembered. Over time, the rumors blended into one unsettling belief: the house never forgot a word spoken inside it. When the family patriarch passed away, the heirs were summoned back to the mansion. They arrived not as a united family, but as strangers bound by blood and expectation. In the main hall, beneath a high ceiling stained by time, the family lawyer read the final will. The inheritance would not be divided. There would be only one heir. To claim everything, a single family member must remain inside the mansion for 1 full year, and during that time, they must not speak a single lie. No explanation followed. No definition of what a lie truly meant. "The house will know," the lawyer said calmly. At first, the challenge felt simple. Everyone believed they knew themselves well enough. Everyone believed they could control their words. But the house had already begun to listen. During the first nights, strange things happened. Whispers echoed through empty corridors. Shadows moved where no one stood. And then, quietly, the walls began to change. Images appeared, not paintings, not reflections, but memories. Scenes from the past surfaced, arguments never resolved, promises broken gently, truths hidden behind polite smiles. The house was not judging. It was revealing. Slowly, fear replaced confidence. The inheritance no longer felt like a reward. It felt like a test. Chapter 2: When the Walls Speak Back. As days turned into weeks, the mansion grew heavier with unspoken emotion. Each room reflected something different: tailored to the person living inside it. The walls showed memories not as punishment, but as mirrors. Some revealed ambition disguised as duty. Others showed silence chosen over honesty. Moments where truth was delayed long enough to become something else. Family members began avoiding each other, afraid that conversation itself might expose them. Even simple words carried weight. Every sentence felt like a risk. One by one, heirs failed. Not because they intended to lie, but because they did not fully understand the truth they were avoiding. When someone was disqualified, it happened quietly. No arguments. No announcements. Their presence simply disappeared from the house, as if they had never truly belonged there. The mansion continued its work. It revealed how wealth had shaped the family, how comfort replaced communication, how silence became a habit passed down through generations. Love was present but rarely expressed honestly. Eventually, only one remained. Lena Aurelian had never been the loudest voice in the family. She listened more than she spoke. While others feared the walls, she tried to understand them. Her memories appeared slowly. They showed moments where she chose silence instead of truth, not out of manipulation, but fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being misunderstood. "Is silence a lie?" she whispered one night. The walls did not react. For the first time, she realized the test was not about perfection. It was about awareness. Before we move on to the next chapter, let me take a moment to speak directly to you. If you've made it this far, thank you for staying with the story. I know today's story is not an easy one. It's deep, emotional, and sometimes a little challenging, and that means a lot if you're still here listening. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to leave a like. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps support this kind of storytelling. Also, I'm curious to know, what new words or expressions did you learn from today's story? Let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading your thoughts. Now, take a deep breath. And let's continue our story. Chapter 3, The Weight of Being Honest. The silence inside the mansion became deeper as the final months approached. It was no longer an empty silence, but a heavy one filled with thoughts, memories, and questions that refused to disappear. Lena felt as if the house itself was breathing with her, slowing her down, forcing her to listen. The walls no longer showed dramatic images or distant memories. Instead, they revealed small moments, moments that seemed insignificant at the time, but had shaped her entire life. She saw herself as a child, choosing not to speak when she felt ignored. As a teenager, pretending not to care when she was hurt. As an adult, convincing herself that silence was wisdom, not fear. "You were protecting yourself," a soft voice echoed from the walls. But protection became a habit. Lena began to understand something important. Truth was not only about words. It was about intention. About alignment between thought, feeling, and speech. She started speaking out loud, not to the house, but to herself. "I was afraid of being rejected. I wanted to be understood without explaining myself. I stayed quiet because it felt safer than being wrong. The house listened. It did not react with images or sounds. It simply allowed her to continue. Days passed peacefully. For the first time, Lena felt lighter. Not because she had no flaws but because she was no longer hiding them. As winter faded into spring, she realized the test was nearly over. Yet strangely, the fear of losing the inheritance no longer mattered. What mattered was this rare clarity, the feeling of standing fully inside her own truth. And the house knew it. Chapter 4: The House That Waited. As the end drew closer, Lena noticed a change in the mansion. Doors that had always felt heavy now opened easily. Corridors that once seemed endless felt shorter, clearer. It was as if the house sensed that its long silence was finally coming to an end. She began to explore more deeply, not out of curiosity, but out of respect. Every room felt like a chapter of a book that had been waiting centuries to be read. In the far west wing, she discovered a small library hidden behind a wooden panel. Inside were journals, letters, and unfinished confessions written by members of the Aurelian family long before her time. As she read, a painful pattern revealed itself. Every generation had been given the same opportunity, not always through a formal test, but through moments where honesty could have changed everything. And every generation chose comfort instead. They chose silence, avoidance, and polite distance over truth. The house had not been built to trap lies. It had been built to contain them. Stone by stone, it absorbed everything people were too afraid to face. The wealth had grown, but so had the weight. The mansion became a quiet guardian of unresolved lives, patiently waiting for someone who would stop running. That night, the walls showed their clearest images yet. Not accusations, not shame, but moments where honesty almost happened. Words that reached the lips but were never spoken. Lena stood still, breathing slowly. "I see it now," she whispered. "You were never judging us. You were waiting for us to be ready." For the first time, the house did not respond with images or sounds. It didn't need to. Chapter 5: The Choice Beyond the Inheritance. The final days passed gently. There was no tension left, no fear of disqualification. Lena no longer measured her words. She spoke when truth asked to be spoken, and stayed silent when silence was honest. On the last morning, sunlight filled the main hall, touching the walls softly, as if saying goodbye. The lawyer arrived shortly after, carrying the same calm expression he had worn from the beginning. "You have completed the condition," he said. "The inheritance is yours." Lena listened, but her heart was no longer focused on wealth. She walked through the mansion one final time, remembering the echoes of voices that once lived inside it, not as ghosts, but as lessons. She understood then that the true inheritance was not money or property. It was awareness. The ability to face oneself without distortion. Instead of claiming the mansion as a private estate, Lena chose to change its future. The wealth would be used to open the house as a place of reflection, a space where people could confront truth without fear, and silence without shame. As she stepped beyond the gates, the mansion remained behind her, quiet and still. The walls that once listened had finally been answered. And here is where our story comes to an end. What started as a mysterious inheritance inside an isolated mansion slowly became something much deeper. It was never really about wealth, power, or competition. It was about truth, the kind of truth we avoid, delay, or hide from ourselves because facing it feels uncomfortable. Through the silent halls of the mansion and the listening walls, this story explored family bonds, unspoken regrets, and the emotional weight of honesty. Each character was tested, not by the house, but by their own awareness. And in the end, the greatest inheritance was not money or property, but clarity, acceptance, and inner peace. Now, before you leave, I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Do you enjoy fictional stories like this one, symbolic, psychological, and slow-burning? Or would you rather we go back to realistic stories inspired by real-life events and everyday experiences? And here are 2 questions for you to think about. In your opinion, was silence a form of lying in this story, or was it sometimes a form of self-protection? If you were in Lena's place, would you have accepted the challenge and stayed in the house for an entire year, knowing that every word mattered? Take a moment and share your answers in the comments. I read them all, and your opinions really help shape the future of this channel. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to leave a like, it truly supports this kind of content. And if you're not subscribed yet, feel free to join the community for more stories like this. Thank you for listening until the very end. And until the next story, take care, and stay honest.